Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, I got all the parts and pieces for the Monarch Tailstock all cleaned up, painted up, ready to put back together, and that's what we're going to be doing in this episode. In the last version on this Monarch Lathe restoration series, we took all this apart, went through the process. If you missed that, go back and take a look at it. But now we're going to be putting it all back together, and everything looks good. So let's get in here and start putting her back. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out. The paint job came out great. Everything cleaned up good. I didn't really run into any unforeseen problems as I was going through here. So let's start putting her back together. So we're going to start by down here on the bottom piece here, getting our little cam mechanism put back together because we've learned the last time that we needed to do this little piece down here, get this set screw in before we put the bottom base on. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and grab the little cam mechanism here. As you can see, we got a bushing. That bushing comes in here, and if you remember from when we took it apart, there's a cam lobe on here, and that's basically when this thing turns, it adjusts the piece up and down. That tightens everything down on the ways. So you'll see how it goes as we put it back together. So let's get this around here and do just that. I don't want to scratch up this paint job, so I'm going to transfer this thing over to this rag. So hopefully I won't be messing anything up as we're working on this. I'll turn it around this way a little bit. Maybe you can see what's going on. All right, so this whole assembly needs to go in together, and when we do, we got a couple pieces that need to go on down here on the end as to catch them as they go by. So let's go ahead and do that. First is going to be this piece here. This is the part that comes down that actually adjusts up and down this cam lobe, so it fits right there on the cam lobe. So we're going to go ahead and at least get that started. And then right behind that, there is a bushing here, or a collar, whatever you want to call it, that holds it all in place. And the main thing I need to do is just get them both onto the shaft right now as we start putting this in, because once that goes past a certain point, I really don't have access to it. I can't reach it in there anymore. So go ahead and kind of position this bushing in. I'm going to just give it a little light coat of oil just to kind of help it slide up in there, and also to protect it once it gets in there so that it doesn't rust up or anything. All right, we should be able to just tap that in. Let's go ahead and tighten this up now. And that has got that in place. And we got a handle that goes here. We'll be putting that on later on. And also there's a set screw here on the bottom that tightens up onto that sleeve that goes up through there. Find the right Allen wrench here. That was the one we forgot to loosen when we took all this apart, but we'll remember to put it back in there. All right, very good. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put the base back on down here. And before I do, I want to again just take an opportunity here and put a little oil in here. These parts are mating surfaces, and they do kind of rub against each other, or the parts are intended to slide where you can adjust the tailstock to either put a taper in or take a taper out. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice coat of oil all around that. Then we will put this on there. That rod comes through there. We got a little rust on the bottom. We'll have to clean that up before we put it all back together. There we go. And that piece goes on there like such. There are 2 screws here that are used to adjust this side to side. Let me grab those. All right, go ahead and get one started here. And we'll flip this piece back up on its bottom where we can go ahead and adjust it. Let me grab a couple blocks of wood. Other screw goes in the other side. We'll have to adjust this once we get it on the machine, but we'll go ahead and get it fairly close to where it needs to be to start with. All right, that screw is tightened up, and I'm going to look on the back of this. A lot of times there's a mark, and there is, that kind of lines up, at least from the factory, where it's centered. It kind of gives you a starting place. So I'm going to line that up back here on the back. And like I said, we'll fine adjust this once we get it on the machine. Once we get the machine running, but the lines are lined up now. And then this one here we'll just tighten up. And you can adjust this from side to side by going in here and tightening up and loosening one side and tightening it and just shifting it back and forth, usually with an indicator to tell you how far you're moving it to get it adjusted. All right. I'm going to lay it back down on its back now. I got a little flash rust on here. I'm just going to take a little WD-40 and then some a Scotch-Brite pad. This is not by any means any kind of heavy rust or anything. It's just a flash from wherever I was cleaning it up the other day. That should knock it off right there. All right, that looks good. Now let's get our little locking mechanism that goes on here to pull it tight, and figure out, remember how this goes. All right, so if I remember right, this piece here just kind of screws up in here. We'll have to adjust this to get it where it needs to be. But to start with, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it all the way in. This goes on here. I got the springs in there so that it automatically pushes down. And now take that nut off. And I'm going to have to adjust all this once we kind of get it over there onto the machine, figure out where it needs to be exactly. But for now, we'll just go ahead and kind of get it on here. And this can all be adjusted later on. I'll just get those screws just kind of started right now. There's a lock nut basically in here that you can adjust that however you need to. And I will adjust that once we get it over on the machine. So I think that's pretty well got the bottom part assembled. So let me go ahead and turn this back up on its, turn it up. Next thing here, we got a little keyway that goes in here, and there's a little pin in here that keeps this from sliding, so it just kind of holds it in place. It's just a little spring pin or dowel pin, whatever you want to call it, and it is in poor shape. I'm going to knock that out and replace it. So let me go over here to the vise where I can do that. I'm going to put this over here in the vise where I can work on a little bit better. You can see that pin there on top. Let me get a punch here. And I'm going to punch this out. Now, it looks like this is actually going at an angle. I'm going to drive it out. Yep. It's actually at an angle. And that pin is out. I'm gonna grab a new one. Here's a new spring roll pin. And drive her in there. I'm gonna probably have to play with this to get the depth of that right, and then I'm just gonna go grind the top off flush, which is what needs to be done. So let me play around with that, and I'll be right back. So we got our new pin in there. I basically ground the bottom so that it was parallel to the pin itself, just so it'll fit in there better. And of course we ground the top flush. And now that hooks in there and catches in there just right. And with that, I'll tell you what we're gonna do is squirt some oil up in the spindle. And we will go ahead and put our quill back in. That key on the bottom catches. And boom. Very nice. Just take my hand and wipe that down real good so we got some good oil in there. Tell you what I'm going to do, we'll go ahead and take it out the back. Ooh, that's kind of dirty. Put oil in that groove up there. When you put oil in here, it goes into that oil groove and it keeps this thing lubricated. Whoa, knocked my pin out. Normally this pin doesn't go back that far, so that's it right there. So that quill's moving very nice snug fit in there and lubed up really nice. While I'm right here on the front, let's go ahead and put our quill lock back in. So we got a little piece of threaded rod that comes up through here. And then again, this piece here slides in there. I'm gonna take it and lube it up real good. That drops down, boom, just like that. And when you take this handle, screw it on top. I thought there was a washer in between those, but maybe not. I'll go back and look on the video, but I don't see a washer laying around that fits that. I got a parts diagram somewhere too, but either way, it shouldn't matter. That right there just locks that spindle in place and of course loosens it up when you undo it. So we'll leave that like that. And tell you what, while we're here on the front, let's go ahead and put our cam lock back in here. This handle here fits on there. There's a tapered pin. Let me knock that back out. And this goes around the back of the well. I've got my tapered pin knocked out. This is the big end here, and I can tell that it fits in there in that direction. This is the big end of the hole, so let's go ahead and get these lined up. Okay. Now I get my pin lined up. And that should just drive home. Let me grab a punch here where I can Knock that down in there. It's a tapered pin, so it's going to lock in place right there. And as you can see now, when you push that down, it locks, pulls this up. When you pull it up, it loosens it. So we'll go ahead and get this line back up again. And again, all this stuff on the bottom is going to have to be adjusted once I get it onto the lathe. But for now, we're just going to get it on here to start. That's good for now. I will adjust that once we get it back on the machine. So next we got our piece that goes in here. This is a rod that goes in and out, and that's what tightens and loosens this. And it fits up into this bell housing on the end that will tighten on. And there was a thrust bearing in here, so it's a 3-piece thrust bearing. You got some little ball bearings in there that go around and around. Now, I was able to read the number on this, and this was a Aetna F5 thrust bearing. And I got on the computer, actually got on eBay, found a new old stock Aetna F5 thrust bearing. They probably still make this, but I found an original one just like the one that came out of there. So honestly, guys, I don't know if there's really anything wrong with that one, but while we're in here, we're just going to go ahead and take care of it. So this thrust bearing basically just fits right down in here. And I am going to oil that real good so that it starts with some good lubrication. All this just fits through there like such. I'm going to go ahead and start threading that in. And then this hub just screws into the end cap here. There's a little hole right here. That is for a spanner wrench to fit on to tighten this up. So I got a spanner wrench here that's got that size hole in there. I really probably need one a size bigger. I'm gonna probably, I'll have to touch that paint up right there, but that ain't no big deal. But that's on there nice and tight now. I dug around over there and I found the perfect piece of key stock to go in here. Go ahead and put our hand wheel back on. And I need to get the correct hardware to go on the end here, guys. This is what was in here, where there was two washers and a little 1/4-20 screw. And I don't have the correct screw length to go in here, or do I have the right washer? But I'll order that hardware later. But for now, I'm just going to put the ones that were on here on. And back in business. I will note that this hand wheel had been broken at some time and they had welded it back together, so and got a little wobble in there. I'm not crazy about that, but you know what, we can live with that. It works. And with that, I think we are back together. So let's go put her back on the lathe. Look at there. Ain't that pretty? Been waiting a long time to see this lathe start coming back together. So I'm gonna have to do some adjustments down here to get this locking mechanism, because it's not near tight down here to tighten that up, but that's just some simple adjustments. But look at there. Starting to look like a lathe again. All right, so look at here, guys. Right now, she just glides back and forth like she's supposed to. Boom, lock her down. She's tight. Just like we want to. We got our Quill Lock right here. Everything's working. Now she's locked down, so if we want to put a live center in or something, I think what I'm going to do is I put a washer in here, but it's not a real tight fit. I'm going to make a custom washer, and I'm going to grind it to a height so that when this thing is locked down, basically my handle is just parallel right here. I can adjust the height of that washer. So that's something still left to do. I'm going to put that on the list. But all in all, I'm real happy. We've got a quill back on the machine, and she feels like she's working good. So I got a couple little hardware things I need to work out on this. I need to get my way wipers put back on, and I'm actually going to be making new way wipers. I had some new pieces cast, some new aluminum covers cast, and those should be coming in here any day now. I've seen pictures, they've been done, just haven't got them in, so I'm going to have to do some machining to those to get them to fit, and put new felt and all that kind of good stuff in there. And but we are making good progress on this. Tailstock is knocked out. All done. I'm excited. So really, at this point, about all that's left to do is to get this, well, to get our new nut made for the cross slide, and I got my boring bar in for that, or my threading bar in for that. Steve Barton over at Solid Rock Machine Shop was kind enough to team up with Robin Renzetti, and they came up with an awesome design for a threading bar. I'll be sharing that later on, but we got to get that new nut made to go in here, and then do the scraping on the compound. And I've actually got a scraping class coming up here in about another week or two, and I will probably do the scraping for that during the scraping class. So we are getting into the short rows on this thing. And besides that, I think getting the taper attachment put back on, which I haven't even started even cleaning that up yet, but there's going to be some stuff I'm going to have to do to that, but nothing major, I don't think. But we are getting very close to having an operational lathe here very soon. That's the game plan. So with that, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you like what you see. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time around. Thanks.